My name is Claire Donovan. I'm 35 years old. And by the time my brother lifted his champagne glass at my engagement party, I already knew he had been waiting all night to ruin me. You know that kind of silence. The kind that looks like celebration on the surface but feels like a held breath underneath. People smiling too wide. Laughing half a second too late. Watching without looking like they're watching. That was the room inside a rented lakeside house in Lake Tahoe that night. String lights glowing. Music low. Wine flowing like nobody had anything to hide. But my family always had something to hide. Ethan stood near the fireplace. Tall, relaxed, confident in that way people get when they've never really been challenged. He tapped his glass lightly with a fork, smiling like he was about to say something charming. To my sister, he said, voice smooth. The woman who finally convinced someone to marry her despite everything. A few people laughed. Not loudly. Not proudly. But enough. My mother smiled into her drink. My father didn't look at me. My fiancé Daniel shifted beside me, confused, already sensing something was off but not understanding the history behind it. Because people like Ethan don't humiliate you once. They build it slowly. Carefully. Over years. Until everyone thinks it's normal. I lifted my glass. I even smiled. Then let's raise one, I said calmly, to the man who still owes me $18,000 and thought tonight was a good time to remind everyone who he pretends I am. The room didn't go silent. It froze. Not the same thing. Silence is soft. This was sharp. Immediate. Like glass cracking under pressure. Ethan's smile didn't disappear right away. That was the thing about him. He had trained it too well, but his eyes gave him away. Wow, Claire, he said lightly. We're doing this here? Same tactic. Same script. Make me the problem for responding. You started it, I said. Daniel looked at me now. Fully. Not confused anymore. Focused. My mother leaned forward quickly, her voice dropping into that careful tone she used whenever she wanted control without confrontation. Claire, sweetheart, not tonight. Not tonight. Not here. Not in front of people. That had always been the rule. Not don't hurt her. Just don't let anyone see it. Ethan shrugged like he was bored. It was a joke. You always take things too seriously. A couple of guests shifted uncomfortably. Someone near the kitchen pretended to check their phone. I set my glass down before my hand tightened too much around it. A joke? I said. Was it a joke in March when you called me crying because your startup collapsed and you needed $10,000 to stay afloat? His jaw tightened. Or in June when you needed another $5,000 because your investor backed out? Now people were looking. Not casually. Directly. In September? I continued. 3,000 more. Rent, because you didn't want your girlfriend to find out you were broke. Daniel went completely still beside me. Ethan's voice dropped. You don't have to say numbers. Exactly, I said. You didn't have to stand there and act like I'm the one who needed saving. That hit. You could feel it. Not loud. Not dramatic. Heavy. My father shifted in his seat. My mother's smile collapsed just slightly at the edges. Ethan crossed his arms. So now you want to meddle because you helped your own brother? No, I said. I wanted basic respect. That would have been cheaper. Someone near the bar let out a quiet breath. Daniel spoke for the first time. Claire, what is he talking about? I didn't look at him yet. Ask him, I said. Ethan laughed, but it came out thin. She's exaggerating. I paid most of that back. I turned slowly toward the small clutch bag at my side, and that's when his expression changed. Because he knew. I pulled out a folded set of papers. Not dramatic, not aggressive, just precise. You paid back $2,000, I said. Once. After I reminded you 3 times, I placed the papers on the coffee table between us, like receipts at the end of a meal nobody wanted to acknowledge. The room leaned in without moving. March 3rd, $10,000 transfer. June 18th, $5,000. September 9th, $3,000. Each with notes, each with timestamps, each with messages. Don't tell Mom. I'll fix this, I swear. You're the only one I can trust. Ethan went pale, not embarrassed, exposed. You kept records? He said. Of course I did, I replied. You taught me to. That landed harder than anything else. Because it wasn't anger, it was truth. Daniel stepped forward slightly, eyes scanning the papers. You told me your company was still running, he said quietly. Ethan didn't answer. Ethan? Daniel pressed. My brother ran a hand through his hair, shifting gears fast, trying to regain control. This is private, he snapped. It was private, I said. Until you used me as a punchline. The shift in the room was undeniable now. People weren't just watching, they were choosing. And for the first time in my life, they weren't automatically choosing him. Ethan recovered quickly. He always did. That's really what this is about? He said, laughing again. Money? No, I said. It's about rewriting me so you don't have to explain yourself. He stepped closer. You've always been like this, Claire. Quiet, judgmental, acting like you're better than everyone because you play it safe. That one was aimed carefully, because it was the family narrative. Claire is stable. Claire is careful. Claire doesn't take risks. Claire doesn't shine. I let out a small breath. I work 2 jobs, I said evenly. I manage a logistics team in Sacramento during the day, and I freelance at night so I don't depend on anyone. I met his eyes. I don't fake success I haven't earned. That changed the air again. My aunt shifted uncomfortably. My cousin looked down at his drink. Daniel looked at me differently now, not confused, not unsure. Understanding. Ethan scoffed. You just love making people feel small. No, I said quietly. You do. I just stopped shrinking. That was the moment everything broke. Not loudly, but permanently. Because once someone names the dynamic, it doesn't go back to invisible. My mother tried again. Claire, please, she said. This is your engagement party. Exactly. My engagement party, I repeated. And he chose to humiliate me in it. No one argued with that. Not even her. My father finally spoke. This doesn't need to turn into a spectacle. I turned to him. It already was, I said. You just didn't mind when I was the one on display. He didn't answer, because there wasn't one. Ethan got reckless then. That always happened when he started losing control. Tell them everything then, he said sharply. Tell them why you're so bitter. Tell them why your last relationship fell apart. There it was. The lowest move. He knew exactly where to aim. I felt it hit, but I didn't flinch. Gladly, I said. The room held its breath again. My ex-fiancé opened a joint credit account without telling me, I said. Racked up debt in both our names and expected me to clean it up. I looked straight at Ethan. I left him. Fixed it. Alone. I paused. Difference between me and you? I don't hide my consequences behind other people. That one cut clean. No shouting. No drama. Just accuracy. Daniel exhaled slowly beside me. You never told me that, he said quietly. It wasn't relevant, I replied. It is now, he said, and that mattered. More than I expected. Ethan shook his head, trying one last angle. You love this, he said, playing the victim. I laughed once. You've needed me for years, I said. You just couldn't afford for anyone to know it. That was the line, the one that ended the performance, because it wasn't emotional. It was undeniable. I picked up one sheet from the table. Total unpaid, I said calmly. $16,000. My mother gasped softly. My father stared at the paper like it had rewritten his understanding of reality. Ethan didn't speak. For once, he had nothing. And that's when I realized something. This wasn't one argument. This wasn't even about money. This was the end of a role I had been playing my entire life. The reliable one. The quiet one. The one who absorbs. Not anymore. Here's what happens now, I said. My voice didn't shake. Starting today, I'm done covering your bills, your lies, your image, and your mistakes. Ethan let out a short, disbelieving laugh. You're being dramatic. No, I said. I'm being exact. I placed the paper back down. You'll get a repayment plan from me tomorrow. I looked him directly in the eyes. And if you ignore it, I'll treat the money as a lesson, and you as someone I no longer respond to. That landed hard. No one moved. No one interrupted. Because for the first time, I wasn't asking for permission. No one spoke for a few seconds after that. Not because there was nothing to say, but because, for the first time, nobody knew how to control what was happening. Ethan looked around the room like he was searching for backup, the way he always did when things started slipping. Normally, someone would jump in. My mother would soften it. My father would redirect it. A relative would laugh it off. Not this time. This time, people just watched. And that was new. Dangerous, for him. Claire, my mother said finally, her voice thinner now, stripped of its usual confidence. You didn't have to do this like this. I turned to her slowly. How else should I have done it? I asked. Quietly? Privately? So he could keep doing it? She didn't answer, because we both knew the truth. That had been the system. Keep it quiet. Protect the image. Sacrifice the one who can handle it. My father stood up, rubbing his hands together like he needed something physical to do with the discomfort sitting in his chest. Let's not escalate this further, he said. We can talk about this tomorrow. Tomorrow, later, somewhere softer. I shook my head. No, I said calmly. Tomorrow is where things go to disappear. That landed exactly where it needed to. Ethan exhaled sharply, running both hands through his hair now, irritation starting to crack through the performance. So what? He snapped. You're cutting me off over money? No, I said. I'm cutting you off from using me. That difference mattered. A lot more than anyone in that room had ever acknowledged. Daniel stepped forward then, just slightly, but enough to shift the center of gravity. Ethan, he said quietly, is any of this not true? That question was simple, direct, and impossible to dodge without consequences. Ethan laughed again, but it was hollow now. "You're really going to take her side?" he said. "I'm not taking sides," Daniel replied. "I'm asking if you owe her money." Silence. And silence, in moments like that, is an answer. My father closed his eyes for a second, like he was bracing himself. "Ethan," he said, slower now, heavier. "Is the number real?" Ethan didn't look at him. "It's not that simple," he muttered. That was enough. You could feel the shift ripple through the room. Not dramatic, but irreversible. My mother sat down slowly, like something inside her had finally given way. "How long?" she asked, looking at me now. 4 years, I said. She swallowed. 4 years. And we didn't know? I held her gaze. "You didn't want to know." That hurt her. I saw it land. But I didn't soften it, because truth isn't cruelty, just because it refuses to decorate itself. Ethan scoffed, shaking his head. "This is unbelievable," he said. "You've been keeping score this whole time?" "No," I replied. "I've been keeping track of reality." He laughed under his breath. "You always do this. Turn everything into some moral high ground." I tilted my head slightly. "No," I said. "Life did that. I just stopped pretending it didn't." That's when the room began to fracture. Not loudly, but visibly. A couple of guests quietly grabbed their coats. Someone whispered something near the kitchen. The music kept playing, but it felt wrong now, like background noise in a scene that had outgrown it. Because that's what happens when truth enters a space built on performance. It doesn't explode. It erodes. Daniel looked at me again, not the way he had before, not with curiosity, with clarity. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked quietly. I hesitated, because that answer mattered. "Because I didn't want this," I said. "I didn't want my family to become something you had to deal with." He nodded slowly. "I'm already here," he said. Simple. But it grounded something in me I hadn't realized was still unsteady. Ethan saw that too, and it made him more reckless. "Careful," he said, looking at Daniel. "She's good at making herself look like the victim." I laughed softly. "Say that again," I said, "and I'll read the message you sent me last winter at 2 a.m. when your account was negative, and you said, 'Please answer, you're the only one who ever fixes this.'" He stopped. Completely. That was it. The edge. He had reached the limit of what he could twist. My father exhaled deeply, then did something I had never seen him do before. He stepped between us, not aggressively, but deliberately. "Enough," he said. The word wasn't loud, but it carried weight, real weight. "Ethan," he continued, "this isn't about embarrassment anymore." He paused. "It's about accountability." The word hung in the air like something foreign. "Because in our family, it always had been." Ethan looked at him like he didn't recognize him. "Seriously?" he said. "You're siding with her?" "I'm not siding with anyone," my father said. "I'm acknowledging facts." That sentence changed everything, because it broke the pattern. The oldest one, the one that had protected Ethan for years. My mother wiped her face, her voice unsteady now. "We should have seen this," she said quietly. I didn't respond right away, because this part mattered more than the argument, more than the money, more than the humiliation. "This wasn't hidden," I said finally. "It was ignored." She nodded, slowly, painfully. Ethan let out a bitter laugh. "So that's it?" he said. "I'm the villain now?" No one answered, and that silence was louder than anything said before. That's when Daniel spoke again, but this time, his voice was different, not neutral, not observational, firm. "You lied," he said to Ethan. Ethan turned to him sharply. "Excuse me? You told me Claire was irresponsible," Daniel continued. "That she struggled financially. That she depended on the family." Another silence. He took a step closer. "But she's the one holding you up." That was the moment everything collapsed. Not publicly, not dramatically, but structurally. The version of reality Ethan had built stopped holding. Ethan looked around again, but there was no audience left to perform for. Just people. And people, once they see clearly, are hard to fool twice. "I was going to pay it back," he muttered. "When?" I asked. No anger, just precision. "After the next crisis?" I continued. "After the next story?" He didn't answer, because there wasn't one. My father straightened slightly. "You will repay her," he said. Ethan's head snapped up. "You're serious?" "Yes," he said simply. "And if that means you have to change how you live, then you change it." That hit harder than anything I had said, because it wasn't coming from me. It was coming from the one person who had always softened things before they reached him. My mother nodded, her voice quiet but steady now. "No more covering," she said. And just like that, the safety net disappeared. Ethan looked between them, something close to panic finally breaking through. "You're really doing this over money?" he said again. I shook my head. "No," I said. "We're doing this over truth." That's when he did something I hadn't expected. He got quiet, not defeated, not apologetic, but stripped, like someone who had just realized the version of himself he relied on no longer worked. "I need air," he muttered, grabbing his jacket. No one stopped him. That was new too. He walked out without slamming the door. And somehow, that made it feel more real. The room didn't recover. It couldn't. People left in small, quiet waves after that. No dramatic goodbyes, just soft exits, because everyone understood they had just witnessed something that doesn't happen often. A role breaking. In real time. By the time the house emptied, only 4 of us remained. Me, my parents, and Daniel. The air felt heavier now, but also clearer. My mother spoke first. "You should have told us," she said again, softer this time. I looked at her. "I did," I said. "Just not in ways you respected." She nodded, tears slipping quietly now. "We thought you were strong," she whispered. "I am," I said. "That doesn't mean I don't feel it." My father sat down slowly. "We relied on that," he admitted. "Yes," I said. "You did." No accusation, just truth. There was a long silence, not empty, processing. Finally, my father looked up. "What do you need from us now?" That question mattered, more than any apology. More than any explanation, because it was the first one that centered me. I answered carefully. "Stop asking me to fix what I didn't break," I said. They both nodded. "Stop excusing behavior just because it's familiar." Another nod. "And if this happens again," I added, "don't wait until I defend myself." My mother closed her eyes briefly. "We won't," she said. Daniel reached for my hand then. Quiet, grounding. "I'm with you," he said. And for the first time that night, something inside me settled. Later, when I stood alone by the window, looking out at the lake, I realized something I hadn't expected. I didn't feel victorious. I felt lighter, not because I had won, but because I had stopped carrying something that was never mine to hold. Ethan came back an hour later. He didn't look the same, not weaker, just real. He stopped a few feet away, didn't try to smile, didn't try to perform. "I'm sorry," he said, flat, unpolished, honest, maybe for the first time. I studied him for a moment, then nodded once. "I know," I said, "because apology doesn't erase truth. It just acknowledges it." And that was enough. Not forgiveness, not resolution, but a beginning, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in a family is not fix it, not save it, not hold it together, but stand in the middle of it and finally tell the truth. I didn't hug him. I didn't step forward. I didn't soften the moment to make it easier for him to carry, because that had always been my role before. To absorb. To translate. To make things smoother than they actually were. Not this time. "Sorry for what?" I asked. Not to trap him, but to see if he understood. Ethan exhaled slowly, eyes dropping for a second before returning to mine. "For all of it," he said. "For the money. For what I said tonight. For the pattern?" I interrupted quietly. He paused. That word landed, because it wasn't about a single mistake. It never had been. "Yeah," he admitted. There it was. Not clean, not perfect, but real. And real mattered more than polished ever had. I nodded once. "Okay," I said. That was all. No speech, no lecture, just acknowledgement. Because the rest wasn't something that could be fixed in one conversation, or one apology, or one night. Ethan shifted slightly, like he expected more, like he was waiting for either forgiveness or punishment. Neither came. "What happens now?" he asked. I leaned back slightly against the window frame, crossing my arms loosely. "Now," I repeated. He nodded. "Now we see what you do next," I said. That answer unsettled him. I could see it, because it didn't give him something immediate to respond to. No quick fix, no clear script, just responsibility and time. "I meant what I said," I added calmly. "About the repayment plan." He nodded again, slower. "I'll follow it," he said. "We'll see," I replied. Not cold, not cruel, just honest. Because trust isn't rebuilt with promises. It's rebuilt with consistency. And consistency takes time. He swallowed, then glanced toward the empty living room. "They all left," he said quietly. "Yeah," I replied. He let out a small breath. "I didn't think it would go like that." I almost smiled. "Neither did I said. And that was true. I hadn't planned that moment. Not fully. I had prepared, yes, kept records, protected myself quietly, but I hadn't planned to use them. Not like that. Not there. But sometimes the truth doesn't wait for the right setting. It shows up when it's needed, not when it's convenient. Ethan leaned against the wall now, mirroring me unconsciously. "You really kept everything," he said. "Of course I did." He let out a quiet, almost disbelieving laugh. "I used to think that meant you didn't trust me." I tilted my head slightly. "It meant I was learning," I said. That made him look at me differently. Because that's what it had been. Not paranoia, not resentment. Adaptation to a pattern that had repeated too many times. "I didn't think you'd ever say it like that," he admitted, in front of everyone. "I didn't either," I said. A small silence settled between us. Not tense, not comfortable. Just real. And real felt different. Less performative. More grounded. "I'm going to have to figure things out," he said after a moment. "Yes," I replied. "No more shortcuts." "No," I said. "No more me." That landed. He nodded again, and this time, it felt like he understood the weight of it. Not fully, not yet, but enough. I'll send you something tomorrow, he said. About the money. I'll send you the plan, I corrected. He gave a small, almost reflexive smile. Right, he said. Then it faded, because this wasn't a situation where charm worked anymore. And he knew it. Good night, Claire, he said finally. Good night, I replied. He hesitated for half a second, like he might say something else, then didn't, and walked away. No performance, no audience, just footsteps, real ones. The next morning didn't feel like a resolution. It felt like aftermath. Quiet, still, the kind of stillness that comes after something shifts at its foundation. Daniel was already awake when I stepped into the kitchen, coffee brewing, phone in hand, but not scrolling, thinking. He looked up when he saw me. Hey, he said softly. Hey. I moved toward the counter, pouring myself a cup. For a moment, neither of us spoke, not because there was nothing to say, but because there was too much, and neither of us wanted to rush into it. Finally, he set his phone down. Are you okay? He asked. I considered the question, not the surface version, the real one. I think so, I said slowly. That was the truth. Not completely, not fully settled, but lighter. He nodded. That was a lot. Yeah. Another pause. Then, I didn't know, he said. I turned to him. I know, I replied. He exhaled. I feel like I should have. I shook my head. No, I said. You saw what you were shown. That's not the same as seeing everything. He leaned back slightly against the counter. He stopped, searching for the right words. I don't like that you went through that alone. I held his gaze. I wasn't alone, I said. I just didn't include anyone. That difference mattered. Because it wasn't isolation. It was protection. I didn't want to bring that into us, I added. He frowned slightly. You don't get to decide what I can handle, he said. That could have sounded like criticism, but it didn't. It sounded like presence. I know, I said quietly. And I'm not asking you to carry it, I continued. Just to understand it. He nodded slowly. I do now, he said, and I believed him because something had changed in how he looked at me. Not weaker, not fragile, stronger, but not in the way my family used that word. Not as an excuse to endure, as a recognition of what I had already carried. What happens next? He asked. I took a sip of coffee, thinking. With Ethan? I asked. With everything. I set the cup down. Now we see who people are without the version they were used to, I said. He studied that for a moment. And you? He asked. What about me? Who are you without that role? That question stayed. Because I hadn't fully answered it yet. Not out loud. Not even to myself. I guess I'm about to find out, I said. He smiled slightly. I think I already know. I raised an eyebrow. Oh yeah? Yeah, he said. And I like her a lot. That made me smile. For real. Not controlled. Not measured. Just natural. Good, I said. Because she's not going anywhere. By the afternoon, the messages started. Not from Ethan. From the rest of the family. Small ones, careful ones, testing the new ground. My aunt. I didn't know things were that serious. I'm sorry. My cousin. That was intense last night. You handled it well. Handled it. Not caused it. Not escalated it. Handled it. That difference didn't go unnoticed. My mother called. I let it ring once before answering. Hi, I said. Her voice was softer than usual. How are you feeling today? Clear, I said. There was a pause. I've been thinking, she said, about what you said. I leaned against the counter. Okay, you're right, she continued. About a lot of things. That wasn't easy for her. I knew that. I should have paid attention sooner. She added. Yes, I said. Not harsh, not forgiving, just true. She exhaled slowly. I want to do better. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. Then do, I said. Another pause. What does that look like? She asked. That question mattered, because it meant she wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was asking for direction. Consistency, I said. In what? In not minimizing things when they're uncomfortable, I replied. In not asking me to stay quiet so things stay easy.